Evening. It's October 13th, 2014. Columbus Day in the States, except for the few cities that have adopted Native American Day instead. Not surprisingly, ironically, Thanksgiving Day here in Canada. Decided I'd come out this evening for a bit of a hike. I haven't done a ruck hike in the coulees for a little bit. This is carrying about a 40-pound ruck on my back. Plan to walk down to the river, grab a nice size rock and haul it up to the cairn that I started building last winter. I haven't done too much of that over the summer. Haven't done any of it over the summer actually. Been mostly running and this kind of thing. But now that we're getting into winter, I'll probably do more of these ruck hikes. I might harvest a few things on the way. We are in the last moon of summer, and the latter part of that moon, Awakatsikiitsum, the deer moon, when the deer go into their rut. And there's still stuff out here, of course, plant stuff that is going into season right now. I'm thinking particularly like rose hips and those kind of things. Now is the perfect season for them. So I might do a little bit of gathering as I hike down. I'm going to head past the area where I know the Coyote Den is. Rattlesnakes are already underground. And go down to the river, see what's shaking down there. I don't know what I'll encounter, but probably not too much. Be on the lookout for some of the caterpillars that are hiking around, trying to find their way into places to hibernate. Because there are some of those going around right now. Not too much otherwise for insects. It's a little bit windy tonight. Hopefully it doesn't mess up any of the filming opportunities. But yeah, see what we encounter. Okay, right down in this brush here is where I know the Coyote Den to be. I haven't been encountering really anything of note so far as I've head down the coulee. There was a big buck just as I rounded this hill. There's a big buck that ran up the coulee, big mule deer buck that I'll probably see later on my way back. But I'm not seeing anybody else around. Oh, here's a couple of mule does, or maybe a doe and a fawn. Checking me out. I can hear magpies. I'm going to get down here where I can really look out over the river, see if there's any activity, birds or beavers or what have you on the river right now. Haven't come across the rose hips that I thought I might, but we'll see. Still a lot of territory to cover yet. I'm hoping the coyotes kind of wake up, give me a bit of a show. I don't know. A lot of times when I'm out here, I'm thinking I need to be moving around more stealthily, so that I'm less noticed. Being less noticed would help me see more, and it's just a good skill to develop out here. You know, as a human being, I should be able to move through this environment far less seen and heard. And you'd be surprised, you know, really how much our voices carry when I'm making these videos, or just the sound of the camera turning on, or the sound of my footsteps. It's all really, really loud for out here. But even at that, if you get to a place and you just sit still for a bit, you'll see some stuff. But sitting still is different than engaging. Sitting still and watching is different than being a part of it. Not always, but most of the time. And oh, there goes the deer. You know, there are definitely birds who will sit still and watch. There's another deer right there. Sitting still and watching has its benefits because it reveals secrets about this place that the others know that I don't. There goes my phone. Anyhow, on my way to the river. And just looking out along the river as I described I would, kind of surveying to see what's happening down there before I go down and disturb things. Really nice big food cache the beavers have stored up here. It's a Shoreline Beaver Lodge, and must be living there because they've got a nice winter food store built up. Used to be able to see 3 different beaver lodges from this position above the river. There was one right on my shoreline, right down here a couple of years ago. But during the melt-off and the long rains, earlier part of summer, a lot of times these shoreline lodges on the river just get completely inundated, and the beavers got to rebuild. You can see now a couple of mule deer have come up. A few of them there. Not far from the Coyote Den, which is just in this brush here. I hear a pheasant. You hear it? Yeah, that's a ringneck pheasant across the river there somewheres. No sign of the coyotes yet. No ducks or geese as yet. See what happens. I'm gonna get down there and get me a rock. Yeah, suddenly this flock of ring-billed gulls passing by on the river. I'm almost down to the river's edge now. Just Just trying to make my way down this pretty steep incline. It's not so bad right now, but it's pretty brutal in winter when the ground is hard and icy and snowy and such. One of the things that I should do is try to find out where the shallow areas are to walk across the river, because that's one of the things I always wonder in the winter. Once it ices over, I'm always thinking, alright, where is the place that I can walk where I'm safe, where if I break through the ice, I'm not breaking through that far. And I suspect that, you know, right out here, doesn't get too deep, but it gets a little bit deep. But I can see out that way, see that there's that gravel bar and those ripples there. I'm betting that's a shallow area. In fact, you know, just so that I can feel like I've accomplished something on this walk, I think I'm going to head over there and walk across the river and just test it out. See if it's nice and shallow enough that I can use it in the winter to get to the other side. That'll help me in my studies this winter. Just pausing here to look at some tracks. One of the species that you see a lot in other places, in other kind of like urban and developed places, but you don't see so much here, but they are here, is a raccoon. And this right here, you can see this is a raccoon track. You know, pretty much most of the time, the only thing I see of the raccoons here in Alberta are their tracks. I did one winter locate a look at that, that's a raccoon right there. That's really, the tracks are getting pretty distinct here. But yeah, there was one winter where Mahoney and I found a pair of raccoons. Well, not a pair, I shouldn't say, because they're not a couple, but most likely two female raccoons who were denning up together. There was an area they were harvesting bullberries, and we kept going back and finding them harvesting those bullberries, and then we figured out where they were denning in that area, and they stayed there most of the winter through the coldest period anyway, and then went off elsewhere. But yeah, otherwise, on the very rare occasion I'll come across one out here in the coulees, but for the most part all I ever see of them are their footprints. But they're certainly here, and they're here in pretty good numbers, and it's kind of strange that I don't see them actually more often, because there are places where I've gone where I actually, you know, run into them quite a bit. I'm thinking some of the larger cities like Vancouver, for instance, Vancouver, British Columbia, huge population of raccoons, and they are very accustomed to having people around. They'll walk right up to you. Other places the raccoons might not be quite as accustomed, but there was one occasion in Indiana actually where I was camped out and the raccoon unzipped my tent, and I woke up in the middle of the night with a raccoon on my lap. Of course, when when he saw me and that I'd woken up, he jetted out the door, but he had come right into my tent like it was nothing. And but out here, that doesn't happen. The raccoons are very reserved, and I don't know why it is. Also, what's curious is that there are no Blackfoot stories that I know of that include raccoons, and no Blackfoot songs or bundles or anything like that that is linked to the raccoon. And that's strange. It's almost like they must be a new species here in this area. I'm not sure. You know, when I think of the Rocky Mountains, I think, you know, for sure there must have been raccoons here before, but if there's nothing in the Blackfoot record of them, hard to say. There is a name, Oxbow, which means black eyes, but that's it. So hard to say how long the coons have been here. Almost to the area now where I want to try to wade across and see how it is, whether the water is low enough that it wouldn't be a fearful thing in winter. Alright, I'm here in the area of the river that I want to see if I can cross. Whether it's too deep or not. It's definitely chilly. So this area here is not going to be too deep for sure. About knee deep. Coming up onto a gravel bar. Whenever I'm on these gravel bars here on the Old Man River, I'm on the lookout for crawdads and shellfish, clams, freshwater clams. Tried eating some this year. They were pretty good. Oh, look, right here is here's a clam shell. So this just shows that they are, you know, here in this area. Usually, if there is a abundance of clams in the area, then probably we'll find shells on the shore where the raccoons or the gulls or what have you have pulled them out and brought them to shore. So I didn't see any on the shore, which doesn't mean I'm not going to find any clams, but it's possible that I won't. Anyway, it looks to me like, just judging by the color of the water, you can see right out there it gets a little bit more green, which means it's a little deeper, which suggests that this is not a place where I'm going to be able to walk across. We'll see, because it's still kind of like, you can still kind of see it's the water's being churned up like it's going over rocks at a fairly shallow depth, but we'll see. Right now, I'm in the middle of the river, and I'm only, you know, hardly more than ankle depth. And the question is whether or not there's going to be a channel here that is a lot deeper. And I think that there is. In fact, already I'm starting to go up. Up to my knees. And if I go any deeper, I'm just going to get my shorts wet. Maybe I'll walk out this way, see what's out this way, whether that channel remains. I think it probably does. You know, really, probably some of the safer areas in winter are actually the deeper pools anyway, because they get a nice layer of ice over them. As you can imagine, right here in hardly ankle deep water, you're not going to get that thick of an ice, so you are going to be breaking through. I know it's always just sketchy unless you've had a serious amount of cold where you can trust the ice. I always find it kind of sketchy knowing where exactly to cross that I'm not going to break through. Yeah, there really is not a good an underwater ridge to cross here. I mean, actually, I guess you could say right here is as good as it gets. But you do hit a channel at one point that goes a little deep, and so yeah, there's no way around getting in to kind of take a dip. Anyway, one of the things that's going on here, I'm on this little island, and we got this little oxbow. And when you find these little oxbows, a lot of times this is a really perfect location. This is where the clams like to hang out, in these oxbows. And you can see here, there's some clam shells here. There's a clam shell right here. And furthermore, some coyote poop there, and a lot of indication that the gulls have been down here in big numbers. And this is all ringbill gull feet. Lots of gulls, lots and lots of gulls. So my strong suspicion is that right in here in this oxbow, I'm going to come across some clams. There's a clam shell, in fact, right now, right here. But I think if I look around just a little bit, I'm going to find some live clams. Oh, that one's broken. That one's already eaten out. It's shallow enough that the gulls and others are able to get in here and get them. I don't know why exactly the clams choose these little oxbows like this, because they're so vulnerable here. Alright, here's one. I think. Nope. Dead. Already eaten. Yeah, they're so vulnerable in here that you'd think they'd go out in the deeper waters where they can't be nabbed up so easily. Maybe they do, but when I find them, they're usually in these oxbow areas where it's very shallow, very easy to see them and grab them up. I don't know, maybe the gulls already ate all or most of the clams in this area. Here's one here. Let's see if it's alive or dead. No, just a shell. There's another one here. Live or dead. Just a shell. Shell. Yeah, I thought for sure I was going to have better luck in here, but it doesn't seem so. And here's a footprint I don't see too often. This, I believe, is I believe it's a badger coming down here. Not 100%. Could possibly be a porcupine, but I believe it's a badger. And you know, I do see badgers, not often, but on occasion. There's a lot of them around, certainly tons and tons of badger holes, burrows and such around. But I don't often run into their footprints, especially along the river. But that's kind of cool. Anyway, did my thing at the rocky place, and now I am going to make my way back up, collecting one of these rocks, probably from that pile over there, that rocky place. Collect one of those rocks to bring up to my cairn.